Water market's very interesting. It's definitely a combination of economics and regulation. So for example, in the US, every single customer that we are operating with, we are saving them money. So when the water comes out of the oil wells, our customers have to take it and dispose it off, and then they have to bring in fresh water for their operations. In this case, we take the water, we treat it and give it back to them. So you're saving money on both ends. You're not disposing all of that water, and you're taking much less or no water from the public water supply. So if you can do it for less than or the same cost as X plus Y, it's a no-brainer. Of course, there are increasing environmental concerns and regulatory pressures. Even on the oil and gas companies in the US, you've heard about seismic activity in Oklahoma, the concerns about contamination of aquifers and so on. How much of that is actually true is yet to be determined. The jury's still out. But that said, if you can address it without increasing your costs, it makes most sense. So I would say our business in the US is definitely a combination of the economic benefit that we bring as well as the environmental responsibility that it brings with it. Overseas, certain markets, for example, the coal power plant markets, we find it's entirely driven by regulation, because that is something that the government has now required the power plants to do, as opposed to just dumping the water, which had been the practice for decades, or not just dumping, but dumping with some minimal treatment. I was telling you earlier about our oil and gas project in Western China. That is actually fully economically driven. So we'll take dirty water, prevent its disposal or reduce its disposal, and generate fresh water that they might have otherwise need to bring in from a very far distance. So again, it depends on the exact customer and the exact market, but some tend to be a combination of economics and environmental, with heavily weighted in favor of economics. Occasionally you come across like this coal power plant market, which is regulatory driven. We started in the oil and gas industry. We brought a very attractive solution to the market. We were on a quick growth trajectory, at which time the oil price collapsed to less than $30 a barrel. And we saw a definite slowdown in our market as a result in the company's growth and prospects. However, looking back, that's not such a bad thing. Again, all good companies always try to evolve and adapt when when they come across challenges. And what we did, we took that opportunity to, further lower our costs, to make our operations much more efficient, as well as something that we would have done anyway, but it happened sooner than later, was diversification. So if the oil market had not slowed down, we might not have already explored all these new markets overseas and other industries. Now we find ourselves in a position where the company is well positioned to address these very large global opportunities, while at the same time the US oil and gas market is coming back. And because the price of oil is lower, the cost pressures, the economic pressures are even more. So the industry has come back, but everyone is very cost conscious, and along with that, the environmental and regulatory concern has only increased. So that makes us a Gradient, the go-to company to address both the cost issues as well as the environmental issues in a resurgent industry. In terms of managing growth, of course, it can be a challenge. Sometimes, again, looking back, if we hadn't had some short period of slow growth, we might have had more difficulty preparing for this upcoming growth. But I think we did make our company more efficient, our procedures and our processes much more robust. Because this is one of the things that all companies have to come across. When you start, it's very laissez-faire. You're 6 people, it doesn't matter. But when you're 40, 50, which is where we are now at, versus when you are several hundred people, your processes really have to be in place. And as startup founders, and especially as engineers and scientists, some of us can be quite averse to that, the process and the structures, but you have to adapt to that. And I think we did that. While there was a period of slow growth, we adapted ourselves, and now we look to be in a fairly good position to grow from.